Yes, I got it. It was a joke. Stop sending me comments about it.
See? This guy's an asshole.
Greetings everyone, Shinobi03 is here with another Dumbass Critic response video. So I already looked at a clipless review of a movie based on a franchise I'm a casual fan of. Then we looked at another clipless review of a movie based on a franchise I'm a huge fan of. So let's change things a bit here and go back to his earlier days before the plot hole messed his brain up and puked it out into whatever is currently wearing the Nostalgia Critic skin. As you may recall, the Lost World review was one of the first ones I saw from the Nostalgia Critic. And back then, I thought it was funny and had some clever jokes, especially that at the time, I was starting to think it wasn't that great of a movie. Of course, that was like 5-6 years ago. My opinion on the Lost World had changed, and now I personally think it's pretty underrated, with plenty of good things that people tend to overlook and snark on the more negative and sillier sides of the movie. But wait to say, didn't those dudes with a hat already made their response to this review?
Hello, I'm the review reviewer. You review it, I review you. This is my partner, Mr. It. Today we're taking a look at the Nostalgia Critic review of The Lost World.
To that I say, there's no rule that says I can't make my own response. Plus, those dudes with a hat were doing it in a more comedic take on the matter. I take it a bit more seriously, as shown when I kept unleashing my inner demons whenever Dumbass Critic makes a mistake or two. With that said, does this Nostalgia Critic episode still hold up? After all, this was before the Nostalgia Critic transformed to the Dumbass Critic of the day. This was when he was still funny, and people actually liked his work. This is when he was just talking for the wall, with no comedy sketch shows. This was the time where the Nostalgia Critic was the Nostalgia Critic. Let's dive in.
Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remember it so you don't have to. Jurassic Park. What can you say about it? It's a classic story of science screwing with nature. Sort of a monster movie meets family adventure, Jurassic Park introduced groundbreaking effects, heart-stopping action scenes, and continues to be Steven Spielberg's highest-grossing film. So as you can imagine, there was a lot of hype for Steven Spielberg to do another movie. Hey, you know what, Mr. Spielberg, before you even knew what you had, you patented it, you packaged it, you slapped on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it, well, Lost World.
Okay, let's stop there for a bit and discuss why the sequel exists in the first place. Hold on, can we really call it discussion when it's just me talking to you? I mean, a discussion means to trade thoughts and opinions with somebody else, and you can't really respond when this is a pre-recorded video. What am I talking about again? Oh yeah, The Lost World. After the success of Jurassic Park, Michael Crichton was pressured by both fans and Steven Spielberg to make a sequel novel in order to get a sequel movie. Before that though, there were some sequel stories made like Jurassic Park 2 the game, as well as some comic storylines by Topps Comics. One sequel idea was to focus on the missing embryo canister, which would be revisited years later in Telltale's Jurassic Park game from 2011. But not one of them was a definitive sequel that the people wanted at the time. They wanted a real sequel from the master author himself, and that sequel was The Lost World. It was sort of a remake of the original novel by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, which was about a group of explorers discovering an unknown land filled with dinosaurs and other ancient creatures that would also be made later to a movie, as in one of the earliest dinosaur movies in history. There were of course some issues regarding creating this novel for the purpose of adapting it to the big screen. The most obvious one was retconning Ian Malcolm's death from the first novel, since he was a fan favorite. Also, John Hammond was killed while his movie counterpart was still alive, as well as the fact that the island was napalmed by the non-existent Costa Rican Air Force, so there was a lot to work with. Also, unlike the first movie that was close enough to the original novel, the Lost World movie was much looser and a lot different than the novel. The basic plot of an expedition team going to the island to retrieve a missing friend of Malcolm while an evil company is stealing dinosaurs was pretty much the same, but other circumstances and most importantly, the characters were mostly changed. The following characters, Richard Levine, Jack Thorne, Aubrey Benton, Howard King and George Basilton, were not in the movie. Sarah Harding, Eddie Carr, and Kelly were present in the movie, but they played different roles and had different relationships from the finished movie. But most importantly, Louis Dodgson, you know, this guy, he was completely absent, giving different dynamics than what it was originally played by Michael Crichton. Perhaps the most heartbreaking of all changes was the exclusion of the iconic Carnotaurus scene. Crichton wrote that scene specifically to see how Spielberg would show the chameleon effects on the big screen, but sadly it wasn't in the movie, and Crichton passed away before he gets his wish fulfilled with the Indominus Rex in Jurassic World. At least we had the arcade game to show us that.
Ian! Sarah!
Get away! He's coming!
That's a chameleon-type dinosaur.
The film production itself wasn't as smooth either, with plenty of missing scenes that helped developing the characters and explain some of the plot holes that are only available via still shots and storyboard sketches. And while some of them were lost from the movie itself, they are luckily still available in comic book format in the adaptation based on the earlier drafts of the movie and published by Topps Comics, making it one of the rare cases where a comic adaptation is close to be better than the movie it was based on. In short, the movie had some production and writing issues that, depending on how you look at it, may or may not have damaged the final product.
Talk about a letdown sequel. This movie is sort of like a mix between Congo and The Biggest Whiners at PETA. The characters are idiots, the story's absurd, the effects aren't as good as the first movie.
I strongly disagree here. The effects, in my opinion, are better in this movie than the first one, as seen with the vast amount of dinosaur action in comparison to the first movie. The CGI models are much improved, and not to mention all the new dinosaurs that required newer animatronics to be made.
So what's the point in seeing it?
Because there are still fans who want to see it, of course. Duh!
Hello there. What are you?
What little girl is this? Any real child would take a look at that little green monster and go,
What kind of boring childhood did you have? Children get excited when they see strange things they don't know all the time.
Captain Darling, lunch is ready!
It certainly is.
Behold! One of the rare moments where the Nostalgia Critic makes a joke that's actually pretty funny.
And now for comedically over-the-top scream in 3, 2, 1. Seriously, what woman, especially seeing her daughter getting eaten, would take the time to raise her arms in the air and throw them down? You do that while telling a joke.
First, what comedians do you follow that do what you're describing? Second, have you seen real people reacting to horrible accidents in real life? As in the time before the first thing they do is pulling out their smartphones and take videos of what they're seeing?
And then we cut to this. Was the movie trying to make us think she was screaming at Jeff Goldblum? Granted, I would scream at that too, but that's kind of a confused joke.
It is a weird moment, but quite clever editing, wasn't it?
So we see our main character, Ian Malcolm. Oh, f*** it, let's just call him Jeff Goldblum, because we all know that's who he's really playing.
We will get to this in a bit.
We're then approached by men in suits. Ooh, they must be the villains.
Oh no! It's a guy in a suit! He must be a villain!
They're led by Hammond's nephew named Peter, who is not happy as Malcolm was the only one of the survivors who broke the non-disclosure agreement and told everybody about the island. Wait a minute, so Dr. Grant never told anybody? Dr. Sadler? Hammond? The kids? What's wrong with these people? There's dinosaurs loose! How come the only person who tells anybody about it is the one nutball who obviously nobody's gonna believe?
Dude, I know you have a terrible memory, but how terrible is it to forget what you just said in the same sentence?
Who is not happy as Malcolm was the only one of the survivors who broke the non-disclosure agreement and told everybody about the island.
They even say it in the exact same scene here.
You signed a non-disclosure agreement before you went to the island that expressly forbade you from discussing anything you saw. You violated that agreement.
And yes, Malcolm is the only one who spilled the beans, and look what happened to him. He lost his credentials, he lost his job, and he became a mockery to the public. Grant and Sadler didn't want to risk their jobs and lives getting compromised by telling stories no one is going to believe. As for the kids, well, they're kids. No one's going to take their words seriously.
Yeah, I did, and you lied. You twisted the facts surrounding the deaths of 3 people.
3? Well, that's great. A f***ing scientist who can't count.
This argument does not work because Malcolm was not aware of the deaths of Jeffrey and Nedry. He was only aware about the people he already met there, and he didn't meet or knew about the other 2.
Speaking of which, it looks like there's another island with dinosaurs on it that Hammond wants Goldblum and a team of people to observe. This was called Site B, a site they had to leave because of a hurricane, and so all the animals have been roaming free for the past 4 years. What happened to the first island, you might ask? It disappeared into the void like the rest of the plot holes you'll see in this film.
This is one of the instances where it made more sense in the novel as opposed to the movie. Originally, Isla Nublar was destroyed in the first book in order to not risk having animals reaching the mainland, even though at that point it was pointless since they had already reached the mainland and they bred and had their clashes with humans, like the compies eating babies and rotted raptor corpses found on the shore. And as far as movie canon goes, I believe there was a deleted scene explaining the fate of the island being based on the novel, but it was removed so it left it ambiguous.
Okay, so there's another island with dinosaurs, no fences this time, and you want to send people in, very few people, on the ground.
Okay, if I'm gonna continue on with this review, I have got to get my Jeff Goldblum impression down.
Yeah. Let's get this talk straight right away. Now, I know people like to do the Walken, the Schwarzenegger, the Stallone, the Wiseau, and of course, the Goldblum. But here's my issue here. When Critic does it, it feels less joking about his speech pattern and more like mocking it to the point it reaches borderline bullying with each time he reviews a movie starring Jeff Goldblum. It's as if he's implying that he's stupid because he can't speak like a normal human being, or at least what he thinks a human being should sound like.
I am Jeff Goldblum and I am in and of myself a stereotype.
Which one's the a-hole everyone will fall in love with until they realize he's just gonna do that one note for the rest of his life until they want to dig their brains out with a fork because he's so goddamn irritating? That's the darkly dressed evil one known as Jeff Goldblum. Good lord, Jeff Goldblum can make just about anything overdramatic, can't he? Even in a scene that is overdramatic, he makes it even more overdramatic. How is it Jeff Goldblum can turn anything into a melodrama?
Hello. Welcome to the Jeff Goldblum Hour. You see, the secret to doing the perfect Jeff Goldblum is to insert ahs, ands, and buts in every sentence. The secret is to never complete a full sentence without going or but. There's more to this. You see, the secret to doing Jeff Goldblum is to put the accent on the wrong words. That's the secret there. So when you want to say a statement, that is the secret to doing a Jeff Goldblum. And there it is.
Yeah, Goldblum, or the Wizard of Oz as I like to call him, it's like one of his various Oz got in the way of that line. But what can you expect when you're the son of Jeff Goldblum? But Goldblum is not happy. By God, it's every single one of Jeff Goldblum's Uhs. He packaged them up. Look, there's an from Jurassic Park. There's an from Powder. And there's an from his biography, My God, it's like the new NBC sitcom, Rambles and Mumbles.
One's a horny chaotician, the other's a giggling plant expert who doesn't want to get married but surprisingly wants kids for some reason. Together, they make the greatest couple nobody can understand or want to listen to since Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. Rambles and Mumbles, coming soon to NBC. Wow. That was fast.
But by God, these characters were terrible. Stuttering Jeff Goldblum, awkward Elijah Wood, divorcing Bill Paxton, Jeff Goldblum again! Oh, come on, you could have worked in 3 more uhs into that sentence. What, they got in there, King Kong? Okay, how many lines does Jeff Goldblum whisper in this movie? We do end up asking ourselves, how the f do we ever like this performance to begin with?
Yes, I would like to return this taco to you because there was no sauce on it, and as we all know, when there is no sauce on the taco, you will realize that it is not spicy, and but if it is not spicy, well then you all know what that means. Checkmate.
Sarah, that, and he included all his ums. Who does that? I mean, what's the point anyway?
Critic, see, that's another way to do a perfect Jeff Goldblum is, what you gotta do is you gotta whisper, and this is perfect for the trailer, because this is trailer fuel, because when you whisper, it makes it sound like you're saying something really important, and really you're just recording Jeff Goldblum. And to demonstrate here, I'm gonna use this glass of water, and yes, now, just take the water here, and drop that there, and look, the water went a different direction than it did the first time. You know why that is? Because tiny little fibers and microvesicles and little lines in your hand, I'll guarantee will go a different direction every time. And that is the essence of chaos. And when you have chaos, Critic, do you know what you have? You know what you got? Critic? What? Checkmate.
Alright, enough of you! Back to the movie!
Checkmate.
Shut up! Stop!
This is me speaking as someone with apraxia of speech since childhood, who stutters and mumbles his words and can't get them out of the system the way he thinks of in his head in his everyday life. You don't get it here because I edit my audio to make it less awkward, but I'm horrible at verbal speaking. Because of it, I find all of his Jeff Goldblum jokes unfunny and insulting to my intelligence level. So, Douglas Darian Walker. Here's what I got to say for you for every time you mock Goldblum's way of speaking. Fuck you. Fuck you, you self-righteous, sanctimonious, condescending little sack of garbage. The inability to speak in your perfect human standards does not make us who live with that condition for the rest of our lives any less intelligent than you are or anybody else blessed by God with the gift of fluent speech capabilities. Fuck you, who find pleasure in mocking those you feel lesser than you. Fuck you, and go burn in hell. Sorry for the harsh language, but I left it uncensored to show how serious I am about that issue. If you're curious to know, I was born with fluids blocking my ears at birth, and it wasn't noticed until later in my life when it was pointed out that I was supposed to be able to start making words.
So Hammond tells Goldblum that his nephew wants to exploit Site B and bring the dinosaurs to a park in America. And of course, he wants Goldblum to go in and preserve the animals.
Public opinion is the one thing that I can use to preserve it, but in order to rally that kind of support, I need a complete photo record of those animals alive and in their natural habitat.
Of course, that's one of the big changes from the novel. In the second novel, Richard Levine went to Site B because he heard rumors about the island and he wanted to study it before the authorities find out about it and reduce it to ashes the same as the first island. It wasn't under orders by Hammond, since he was already dead, and not by any other character.
And seeing how you were almost eaten by half of them, I figure you'd be the perfect person to protect them.
One dinosaur does not equal to half of them.
Goldblum of course says no, but Hammond threatens that if he doesn't, he'll never see his girlfriend again.
Why are you talking like Hammond kidnapped Sarah? That's not how it went like.
You didn't contact Sarah.
Paleontological behavior study is a brand new field, and Sarah Harding is on that frontier.
You sent my girlfriend to this island alone?
How the hell do you go on a trip to an abandoned island filled with dinosaurs and not tell your boyfriend?
Because she knows he would say no? Doesn't take a genius to figure that out.
Sarah, when Hammond called you, why didn't you say something to me?
Because I knew you would have stopped me from coming.
I would have tied you to the bed.
I figured out how the animals survive without lysine.
I don't care.
I guess like most women, she just wanted to get as far away from Jeff Goldblum as possible.
Once again, I don't know what crowd you're hanging around with, but I don't know how women would stay away from him after seeing his amazing new show in The Fly.
We also come across Kelly, Goldblum's only daughter. Wait a minute, one daughter?
Got any kids? Me? Oh, hell yeah, 3. I love kids.
What's with this idiot in numbers? What, first how many people die, now how many kids he has? I mean, what the f*** is wrong with you?
Ha! 2 players can't play this game, buddy.
You married? Occasionally. Yeah, I'm always on the lookout for a future ex-Mrs. Malcolm.
So yeah, Malcolm likes to get around, with some previous wives and kids here and there. Kind of a dig move, don't you think?
What's with this idiot in numbers? 9 plus 9 plus 9 is 27, you dumb ape! What's with this idiot in numbers? In my not so well thought out explanation, I say that 9 plus 9 plus 9 is 21, not 27. What the hell was I thinking? I'm really having problems with numbers that Dora the Explorer can figure out? That's just an excuse. What's with this idiot in numbers? It turns out Kelly is sad because, big shock, Jeff Goldblum's not that hot a father.
You know, sweetie, I know we've had some hard going, but I feel like in the last couple of years we've really kind of started to work things out. Hasn't it been better?
Yeah, but I want you to crack on me a little bit, ground me or something, send me my room. You never do any of that stuff.
What kid is this? Yeah, because if there's anything children complain the most about, it's not getting punished enough.
She is smart enough to know if her parent doesn't punish her, then it's a sign that he's a terrible parent. It happens. Either that, or she's growing up to be a masochist. No, I'm not that low to make such a joke.
You like to have kids, but you just don't want to be with them, do you?
Hey, I'm not the one who dumped you here and split for Paris, so don't take it out on me.
Nice parroting there, Goldblum. Why don't you bring up her aborted brother while you're at it? Wait, that's not funny. Nope. So the team makes it to the island in search of Sarah, only to find that her bag is left behind.
Sarah!
Wow, even his screams for his possibly dead girlfriend sound disinterested.
Or he's well aware of how dangerous it is to shout at the top of his lungs since he knows what awaits him on this island.
Will you tell your wife to stop making that noise? That is a very, very bad idea.
I'll tell you what you need. A good antipsychotic.
You know, in the first Jurassic Park, they at least tried to set up some character and interesting conversation. Here, it just feels like filler until the f***ing T-Rex gets there. In fact, let's play a game. A little game I like to call Try to Be Invested. Just listen to this conversation and honestly act like you give a crap.
Wait a minute. Did Critic just use the word crap? Are you supposed to say at least 5 F-bombs, fire 10 rounds from your gun, and make masturbation joke while you're at it? Who are you and when did the Dumbass Critic kill you?
Seriously, just try to be interested.
So listen, when you're out in the field, nothing we can do can leave any room for people to say that our findings are contaminated. Once the research releases the blood in the water, you're dead.
Okay?
We leave no scent of any kind, no insect repellent, no hair tonic, no...
I agree there. That scene was terribly handled, and you can't follow whatever they're saying.
But they hear a noise in the distance. A horrible, terrible sound. What could it possibly be? Man! Yes, man. Man would sodomize your hamster if he could with a... Okay, we know the drill. Let's just see who these guys are. Oh, it's that Peter jerk again. And this time he's accompanied by another Peter, Pete Postlethwaite, and his killer cheekbones, as they try to hunt down some dinosaurs for their zoo in America.
The villains in the novel weren't from InGen. They were from their rival company, Biosyn. I said Biosyn, not Bison. They are led by Louis Dodgson. You know, this guy. Also, their plan was much simpler than Ludlow and InGen. Steal dinosaur eggs. That's it. They weren't planning to make their own zoo. They wanted to clone and breed their own dinosaurs following the failure of Nedry on Nublar. Speaking of which, when are we getting Biosyn and Dodgson in the movies? It's been long overdue. Bring them back in Jurassic World 3 or we will be very disappointed. Tembo wasn't in the novel either, and instead there were two other characters, Howard King and George Basilton, who were more like Dieter Stark and Burke in the movie.
It'll be Pacquiao.
Say that again, Roland. A what?
The one with the big red horn, the pompadour.
Really? You hire people to hunt dinosaurs who don't even know the names of the dinosaurs?
I don't want to hear that from you, mister. I don't care what animal is this as long as I can make a joke out of it.
Why would you go hunting with a person who doesn't even know the name of the animal you're hunting?
Glass houses, critic. Glass houses. By the way, here's something that kept bothering me about this scene. Tembo appeared like he was trying to pronounce the name Corythosaurus and even describes it like it was a Corythosaurus. But the dinosaur we see is a Parasaurolophus, and his crest looks nothing like Elvis's pompadour unless he meant to say reverse pompadour. So I have to ask, were they planning to have a Corythosaurus in this scene but replace it with Parasaurolophus later on after recording this scene, thus the confusion regarding the line? The comic adaptation did the same thing. Tembo says Corythosaurus, but it's a Parasaurolophus. Oh, by the way, I'm one of the few proud who can say Parasaurolophus with ease.
So our heroes look over the horror of what they're seeing and they let it all sink in. What have we become? After all, we're going after innocent creatures like this. Or this. Or even adorable this. Truly, we are the savage animals!
This argument doesn't work because the hunters are not catching the dangerous carnivores. And while the protagonist's reaction scene isn't as on the nose as he presents it to be, animal cruelty is still frowned upon. Yes, even when animals are caught alive for zoos, people still think manhandling them is not a good thing to do. And that point isn't as on the nose either as shown in the comic adaptation, where we see Dieter shocks the already unconscious dinosaur with his catapult for the evils.
So the two Peters come across a baby Tyrannosaurus and trap it in order to capture the mother. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how douchey is this? Oh, this is incredibly douchey. It's just like Hitler douchey, no doubt about it.
One more scene that gives some character to the villains that was cut from the final version. Breaking Junior's leg was an accident caused by a drunk Ludlow. Tembo wasn't planning to break it because he knows as a hunter that it's a bad idea to even startle a baby animal when the parent is close by.
So, like friggin' idiots, they let all the dinosaurs out of their cages. And, wouldn't you know it, they run amok. Thank God they released all those animals. Now absolutely no human beings will be horribly injured at all.
We will talk about this later on.
Archie, look out! Jump!
By the way, what dinosaur could literally throw a car into a tree?
An explosion, that's what.
And if you think that was stupid of our heroes, take a gander at this. They find the baby T-Rex and bring him to the trailer. Are you guys morons?
Yes, Nick Van Owen is a moron. More of that later.
In fact, let's start taking bets about who's gonna die in this movie. You got annoying blabbermouth Jeff Goldblum, idiot scientist Julianne Moore, not such a badass Vince Vaughn, or pudgy doughy guy who's only had 8 lines.
8 lines, huh? Challenge accepted. You get the idea.
Tell me, folks, who do you think is gonna die? Let me emphasize that this is who you think is gonna die, not who you wish was going to die. There you go.
This is one of the things that bothers me the most about this review, but again, more details will be said later on.
No, you mean Sarah!
Sarah! That wasn't Jeff Goldblum, you idiot.
Wait a minute, a second ago they couldn't get the glass open. Now the slightest bit of pressure is gonna bust it? This trailer's as reliable as a BP pipe!
You'll be surprised how strong plastic can get. Yes, it can be even stronger than glass. Special plastic doors. These are tough ones.
Who's hurt? What do you need? We need rope. Rope? What? Oh, anything else? Yeah. 3 double cheeseburgers with everything. No onions on mine. I don't know. We'll turn it over.
You know, I'm not gonna rescue you if you're not gonna take this seriously.
Yeah. One of the worst jokes in this movie. Like, seriously. Who thought this was funny at this situation? In comparison, Eddie went straight to it with the rope without question in the comic.
Okay, so his one Jeep somehow manages to pull up 2 trailers. Yeah, you figure that one out.
Well, there's your problem. That's a Mercedes, not a Jeep.
Now tell me, why the hell did these 2 come back? Did they just want to make sure they were still hanging there? Maybe instead of just leaving them on a cliff, they were like, oh yeah, we're dinosaurs, let's f***ing eat something.
Well, yeah. They were just done killing the RV, or so they thought, heard a weird noise coming from the same place they just came from, and they made the conclusion that they're still alive and came to finish the job for reals this time. Plus, that area is now part of their new territory, so of course they'll eat anything that gets there.
By moving the baby Rex into our camp, we may have changed the adults' perceived territory.
They're what? That's why they persisted in destroying the trailers. They now feel they have to defend this entire area.
We have to move right now.
So the guy gets eaten, and watch this. Both trailers fall right through them, not damaging one hair on their heads.
Movie physics are weird.
I'd just like to point out it was mean, terrible man who helped you out of that incident, while those harmless dinosaurs you were trying to protect ate your doughy guy and kicked you off a cliff.
You're serious? Who the hell said the Tyrannosaurus was harmless? They didn't intend to catch the Tyrannosaurus because they know that was a stupid idea. The only reason Tembo held Junior captive was to lure his father out so he can hunt him, not to take it alive with the rest of the herbivores they caught earlier. Man, you're an idiot!
My point is the predators don't hunt when they're not hungry.
No, only humans do.
Oh, you're breaking our heart.
Oh, Jesus, they're still on blaming the humans for everything. Have you ever considered that if you 4 never showed up, none of these disasters would have happened? They would have gotten the dinosaurs and just put them in a zoo. Oh no! It's almost like what we do with other animals, you goddamn little tree hugger!
Except the problem here is these aren't natural animals, and mixing them with humans on the mainland is a bad idea. Again, this plot made more sense in the novels when it was just the eggs.
So as they take a break, one of the hunters, played by Peter Stormare, gets attacked by the Comeuppance-saurus because he attacked them earlier.
My personal headcanon says that one is the one he shocked earlier in the movie, and he came back for revenge.
The other hunters forget about him almost as fast as the audience does.
Dude, this scene was one of the more memorable moments in the movie, showcasing that even these harmless-looking creatures are as deadly as the big ones.
Turns out it's the T-Rex because he smells the blood on Julianne Moore's jacket. Interesting, they said before his eyesight's based on movement, but now he operates by smell.
And the problem is, eyesight and smelling are 2 different things. You did skip all your science classes, didn't you?
Kinda weird. You would think he would smell Dr. Grant and the girl in the first movie, seeing how his nose was right in front of them.
Ooh, finally pushed my nerd button. I was wondering if you're going to do that this time. So, why couldn't Roberta detect Grant and Lex in that scene? I can explain it. As stated in the first movie, her eyesight detects things that move, right? So obviously, she's having a hard time finding whatever made that sudden scream a moment ago. The question then is, why can't she smell them? I can explain that without the need of extensive dinosaur knowledge. First, think of the current environment. They're in the middle of a tropical rainstorm. Have you been in the middle of a tropical rainstorm lately? Rain makes this distinctive odor that only comes out when it's raining. You can smell the rain. Therefore, it masks the scent of Grant and Lex. Roberta knows there's something, but the rain is making it hard for her to pick up their scent. Add to that, Lex was just having the worst mud bath in her life, so in addition to the rain, she smells like dirt. As in, the actual dirt and mud. And that's my nerd explanation on why our good old Roberta T-Rex couldn't smell Grant and Lex in that scene. So, thanks to the rain.
But hey, their ancestor's a mosquito. I'm sure their genes got f***ed up somewhere. So of course everyone starts fleeing in fear and the T-Rex tries to catch up with them. Again, kinda weird. In the first movie, the T-Rex was fast enough to catch up with a Jeep. In this movie, he's struggling to keep up with a large crowd of people. In fact, did Dr. Hammond in the first film say,
well, we clocked the T-Rex at 32 miles an hour.
Well, what the f*** is slowing him down? Oh well, I guess this one has a disadvantage from the other film, seeing how this one was not kept in captivity, has been hunting in the wild for 4 years. I guess that would slow any dinosaur down.
Oh my. Pushing my nerd button twice in a row? Incredible! Yeah, I can explain that even without the need to be a dinosaur nerd. No, really, it's really simple when you pay attention. In the first movie, Roberta was chasing the Jeep in a smooth, wide-open road that goes in a straight line. In the second movie, the doe is chasing the hunters in a rough, narrow area full of turns and twists that wouldn't allow her heavy body to build enough momentum to run at full speed. In the first movie, Roberta had one single target to focus on. In the second movie, the doe sees multiple prey and can't focus on one single target to chase. That's why she is moving slower than usual. It doesn't take a rocket science to figure that out. Oh wait, I forgot, you never went to science class.
No, don't you remember they can open doors? And that too.
What's with raptors and windows in these movies anyway?
It's gonna come through the glass!
Kelly?
Kelly, no! No, Kelly, don't! It's too cliched and too contrived!
Yes, folks, she's using her flips and kicks from her gymnastics class to save the day.
Yes, it is as silly as it looks, but...
Hey, you!
I love the fact that the raptor actually turns when she says, "Hey, you." I mean, Jesus, he actually fell for that?
Another animal trivia. Animals can get easily distracted when you make sudden loud noises and movements. The gymnastics? Silly. The raptor getting distracted? Not implausible. Remember when Roberta stopped tearing up the car when Alan yelled at her? Hey! Or the big one getting distracted by the falling stepladder instead of attacking?
They finally get away when the chopper that Vince Vaughn called finally arrives. But Postlethwaite still wants to take care of that darn T-Rex.
Well, that's one souvenir they won't be taking with them.
But you stole their bullets? That T-Rex is eating people, you asshole! My God, these are the people that helped you out of the cliff and told you where the radio tower is. And you're honestly going to take away their only means of defending themselves? Jesus! All you ever do is wave your finger at how people are gonna get killed, and yet you're constantly getting people killed! What's wrong with you? You're terrible heroes, all of you! You deserve to be shot!
No, don't worry. I'm telling you, I'm saving it.
I guess in the long run it doesn't matter because they still capture the T-Rex anyway and bring him to San Diego. But the ship crashes into the docks as it seems the T-Rex got out of his cage, ate the crew, and somehow locked himself back in the cage. Look at this, don't you love it how the T-Rex ripped a guy from his hand and yet somehow didn't damage any other part of the room? Consider an animal, isn't he?
This is also considered one of the plot holes of this movie, but some did make their own theories on how the Tyrannosaurus was locked again, and more importantly, how he ate the crew of the bridge without destroying the place. One thing is pointed out regarding the scene is we never see the entire bridge. We're not shown that there was a destroyed wall or a hole made by the buck. It'd be like this scene from Dino Crisis when the T-Rex first shows up and moves away, but instead of seeing this, we see this. We don't see the broken window, but we know it's there. And you know what? It was there as shown on the storyboard.
Now you're John Hammond.
That's right. Now you're John Hammond. I didn't even know we were supposed to hate him by this point, but ooh, I hate him now!
That was supposed to be an ironic callback to this moment.
Hammond's reach exceeded his grasp, mine does not.
Taking dinosaurs off this island is the worst idea in the long, sad history of bad ideas, and I'm going to be there when you learn that.
So Goldblum and Moore go to find the baby T-Rex as a means to lure the father back to the boat.
Hey, what the hell you think you're doing?
Taking the kid. If you really want to stop us, shoot us.
So uncivilized.
No, they just let him drive away, of course, because, you know, it's not like it's their job to stop him or anything.
Yeah, it is too easy they let them go like that. Unless the gods heard of the situation and thought that was for the best. But really, we don't know.
Oh, wait a minute. King Lear starring Arnold Schwarzenegger? Why the hell aren't I watching that movie? You go back and start again, film. I want to see Arnold!
Once again, a joke that's actually funny. So I don't know if I want to see that or Stallone's Terminator. By the way, while we are on the part of the Bucks rampage, let me correct a very common mistake everybody makes. If you've been to the movie's trivia pages or seen other reviewers, you might have heard them say this scene where we see the Japanese businessman running is referencing Godzilla. Okay, nothing wrong with this, but the mistake everybody is making is the claim them saying, "I left Tokyo to get away from this." I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but this is completely false. I replayed this moment countless times and focused my hearing to pick what they're saying, but all they say are stuff like "run away," "I'm leaving," and the sort. Not one of them mentioned Tokyo or Japan. It doesn't even make sense when you think about it. Are monsters real in this universe? It feels out of place in a movie that takes itself seriously and fits more in a comedy. I do, however, know where this line and the confusion came from. You see, there was a Disney movie. It's called Inspector Gadget. In it, we get this scene. And now you know where that random line came from.
And knowing makes it even more confusing.
And thus we get our last minute moral from the evil John Hammond. Oh, I hate him so much, I hate him so much. Oh wait, the music's indicating we like it now. As stated earlier, Hammond was not supposed to be evil. Unless you count Noble Hammond, because he was a real jerk. Dum 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 dum. This was dumb dum 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 dum. This film was so dumb dumb. Dum 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 dum. God, what a terrible follow-up to a kick-ass movie! Nah, I still think it's a good movie, if not flawed due to rewrites. But still holds up with amazing and memorable dinosaur action scene. I'm not gonna act like the first film was perfect, but it was a basic fun survival flick. This just seems phoned in. The characters are forgettable when they're not incredibly stupid. The story is unbelievably forced. And the whole animal rights thing really backfires when the people trying to promote it are constantly making things worse. Okay, I think we can really get into this topic I kept holding back all this time. If it wasn't clear, one of the things that bugs me about this review is Critic constantly blaming all our heroes for everything bad that happened on the island, when in actuality, it was just Nick Van Owen. All what Malcolm wanted to do was bring Sarah out of the island and that's it. He didn't care for Hammond's quest of documenting the wildlife. Eddie Carr was just there as a technician, and Kelly was a stowaway. But Nick Van Owen was the one Hammond specifically asked to sabotage Inge's efforts in capturing the animals.
I think I should tell you guys. Hammond told me these people might show up. I thought we'd be finished by the time they got started, but in case they weren't, he did send a backup plan.
What backup plan?
Me?
In the beginning of the movie, we hear him say that he used to be in Greenpeace. Greenpeace, as we all know, is an environmental activist group.
Do some volunteer work with Greenpeace once in a while?
Greenpeace, what drew you there?
Women.
But later on, Tembo recognizes him as part of Earth First.
I know you. You're that Earth First bastard, aren't you?
Earth First, what's that?
Provisional saboteur.
Firemen, criminals!
Earth First is a real-life extreme radical environmental group, and they're considered a sellout by mainstream environmental advocates. They are known for their violent and destructive approaches to protect the environment, which involves sabotage and destruction of private properties, and in some cases direct assaults. In short, they're the kind ready to murder people in the name of the environment. Eco-terrorists. And as we see in the movie, Owen's behavior did reflect that.
We came here to watch, you came to strip mine the place. It's a looter mentality, all you care about is what you can take, you have no right.
My point is the predators don't hunt when they're not hungry.
No, only humans do.
Oh, you're breaking our heart.
The animal exists on the planet for the first time in tens of millions of years, and the only way you can express yourself is to kill it.
Ignoring his rescue of Junior because he felt sorry for the baby, everything else from freeing the dinosaurs and setting them loose on the hunters instead of letting them go at peace, to sabotaging their vehicles and equipment, and of course, taking Tembo's bullets when he wasn't looking. It's these actions that led many to believe that this movie was intended to be a commentary on these extremist activist groups. Nick Van Owen sees his actions as in a heroic way and never considered the consequences on the lives of other people. Hell, Tembo could have saved his people from the Tyrannosaurus couple and justified it with self-defense. And this might shock some of you, but in the comic adaptation, Malcolm was totally into killing the Tyrannosaurus. And speaking of that scene, it tells us that even Owen thought that was a stupid idea that could have led to Sarah and Kelly's death. You see a pattern here? If this comic adaptation really was based on the earlier scripts, then they did a huge disservice to the movie by taking out all these little character building moments which led us to horribly flawed characters in a bad way. Still, that doesn't change the fact that it was mainly Owen himself. It's also bad that they don't show him after they get out of the island, leaving many dissatisfied that he didn't get his comeuppance and didn't take responsibility to his actions, and the last thing we see from him is this very subtle look of defeat when he realizes his efforts ended in vain after witnessing the captured buck. But to say that he is the sole responsible wouldn't be fair either, because Sarah Harding is also part of the blame for assisting him in the camp and for the dumb idea of walking around with a bloodstained jacket that Tembo himself pointed out to her, and yet she didn't even think of getting rid of it until it was already too late when the Rex couple found them. We were told that she's an excellent animal expert, but what kind of expert would do such idiotic thing as walking around reeking of animal blood? Are we sure she's even a real doctor?
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV.
And yet, Critic and many people take it as all of them are equally responsible and all of them deserve to die. Also, it's hard to say there are no memorable characters when you have Roland Tembo, who many consider him the best character in the movie, with many considering him their most favorite, and even Roger Ebert himself said that Peter Postlethwaite was the best actor in the movie for giving the impression that he really was on an island with dinosaurs and not set pieces. No matter how many attempts of the studio to paint him as the villain, he left a memorable impression on the audience. Sure, keeping the deleted scenes would help make him more grey than black, but it didn't matter anyway because he was that awesome.
Oh, you're breaking our heart. Saddle up, let's get this movable feast underway.
Of course, he still had his weird moments. Like, what kind of hunter would keep pointing the barrel of his shotgun up in the air where water and dirt can't get in the barrel? Or why would he leave the shotgun next to the strangers? Did he trust Sarah because he's a hunter and heard of her due to his background? Or why didn't he bring more shells to the expedition? Was he really counting on killing the buck with 2 rounds? What if he missed? What if these 2 shots weren't enough to kill it?
There's no sense of wonder, no sense of adventure. It's just setup scenes for the dinosaurs to walk in and destroy. That's it!
Ironic that later you'd say the exact opposite in Jurassic World.
It's a bad sequel, plain and simple.
A bad sequel that once used to be the highest grossing film of all time until James Cameron came along with his sinking ship.
The only good thing to come out of this is maybe someone will possibly get the idea to film King Lear with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And when the highlight of a movie is another movie that doesn't exist, that's a bad sign.
You know what else is a bad sign? When your audience remember the movie better than you do.
I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remember it so you don't have to.
Except when you don't remember it as you think you are, so it's up to us the fans to correct your mistakes. In all honesty, The review isn't really that bad, but it hasn't aged that well either. As you saw in several moments, when the critic jokes about the more absurd moments from the movie, they work well because these moments are joke-worthy and many of them were really funny remarks, and that's where critics' humor works best. But he still falls under the mistake of not paying enough attention to the details and makes very weak arguments that don't work, and the constant Goldblum insults and misinterpreting the character motives do hurt the validity of this movie, and that's ignoring all the behind-the-scenes stuff and comparisons to the comic version. So while this is still the Nostalgia Critic before the sketches, it's still not as good, but not as horrible as the Jurassic World one. Next time, we go back to the future and look at one of his post-revival era videos, yet still before the Clubless era, where we tackle his review of my most favorite movie of all time, Jurassic Park. I'll see you soon, and take care everyone. I was making a sarcastic remark there. I know who Peter Cullen is. Stop telling me that. Read the comments before you make your own comments. Please.
See? This guy's an asshole.